Thank you for tuning in to Uncommon Women, a podcast that provides a platform for women of all walks of life to share their upbringings, life lessons learned, experiences, and journeys to come. Uncommon Women speaks on topics that can relate to all women. We share, we listen, we laugh, we cry, and we empower each other to be the best uncommon woman that they can be. Ultimately, we are cultivating a global movement of women supporting women. Women supporting entrepreneurship, relationships, self-love, and so much more. We inspire each other to make an impact on this world for the better. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Uncommon Women. Now, finally, grab a seat, get comfortable, and hear from your wonderful hosts, Shanira and Jenny Lee.
Good evening, everyone. How are you all doing this evening? I'm your host, Jenny Lee, and I have an amazing guest speaker that's going to come on and share her testimony in losing a loved one and how life found after so much that she's been through. Her name is Elliott, a licensed mortgage loan officer, a single mom of 2 boys, and a Reading, Pennsylvania native. Her purpose in life is to inspire and empower women. So she created a group for them called Women on the Battlefield and Living Testimony. Hey, Joelle, thank you for coming on to Uncommon Women this evening. How are you?
Good.
You don't have to be nervous.
Like trying to shake it off.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm more.
I'm sorry.
I said I'm more of the behind the scenes girl.
Yeah, I know, but it's okay. Everyone gets nervous, but don't worry, girl. This is all about you, and you're here to speak your story and to just inspire and empower. And definitely, as long as I've known you, that's what I know that you do and what you do best. So, Joelle, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Whew. Okay, a little bit about myself. Well, I think you shared a lot of it, right? I'm a mom, 2 boys. I'm a licensed loan officer. I hold many hats. I have a women's group. It's called Women on the Battlefield. I have another Facebook group that's called Living Testimony, where I just kind of share devotionals. I ask people to share their testimonies. So about who I am, I am just, I just like to inspire, motivate, and encourage people. That I just love to see women succeed. I just love to see women fierce and stepping out and who God created them to be, and just
Awesome.
hearing their testimonies. That's who I am. That just sums it all.
Okay. And I love how you made those groups, those Facebook groups. Yeah, because I know I'm part of it. And I love how you just how you have to be able to, when you want to inspire people, you just have to have that positive outlook every day and just like encourage others. And I think that's amazing what you're doing. And I see how you do that every day, and that's encouraging for me because you just never know, like, anyone's day, how their day is going, and you can just empower them with that. So anyways, can you just can you tell me a little bit how your life was growing up, from your childhood?
I mean, I can't say I had like a really messed up childhood, because I really didn't. My parents have always been so supportive. I'm thankful for that, because if it weren't for them, I probably wouldn't be where I am today, as far as, helping me raise my sons, and kind of supporting me in all my changes and all the changes that I've gone through in my life, especially when I lost my son. So growing up, I can't say that I had a really bad childhood, because I didn't. I had the most loving and supporting parents, and my dad, his faith is what kind of inspired me to be the way that I am today.
Okay. And that's amazing. I applaud your parents because not everyone's fortunate to have supportive family members like that, and that's awesome. Can and I applaud that for them. Because they obviously raised an amazing young woman.
I give them all the props. He created me, but they had to put up.
What was that?
I said, aside from God, like I give them the props, but they had to put up with me.
I mean, I think our parents have to. We're their kids, I
They
guess.
don't. They well, they do.
I mean, they love you. Of course, they're going to put up with you. So, as you're growing up, how was it, going into your teen years, as you were in school?
My teen years were kind of tough for me, at least.
Okay.
I struggled a lot with my identity. I kind of followed, you want to be with the cool kids, and you
Hmm.
figure out like who you are, and you're doing what everybody else is doing, right? So that was kind of rough for me because I felt like I never fit anywhere. I felt like I was
Hmm.
like, this loner, um, going through my teen years. So yeah, I would say it was a tough time in my life, and like I said, I've always struggled with my identity, and I guess us women in general, most women struggle with that, knowing who they are, God created them to be, and then a teenager, you're not you're kind of trying to figure it out, like where do you fit in, what is it that you start comparing yourself to the other girls, and I don't
Hmm.
have, or I don't look up, so for me it was tough.
And I can agree with you because I think we all go through that as teens because we're teenagers and we're trying to figure out who we are, and then things happen in our lives that we're so young. Any traumatic situation or just things happen in life to us that we get to that point, and sometimes we think we know ourselves and we really don't.
Exactly. And then yeah, so it was, and then on top of that, I had my son at a young age, so trying to be a mom, trying to figure out who I am as a person or as a woman at that point, providing.
Mm.
So life really did throw me a curveball, but I would say it molded me into the woman that I'll always be thankful and grateful.
Okay, okay. So, what were your thoughts when when you experienced that you found out you were pregnant, and who was the first person you told? Like, when we're young, you're like, "Oh my gosh, we're going through so many emotions. We just don't know what to do because we don't know how to react to something like that."
I don't, I can't even, some things you can just kind of go through in life, and then some things you really vividly remember, and then other ones
Yeah,
want to tuck them away and never remember them again.
yeah.
I would say the first person that knew was like one of my really close friends at that time, and
Okay.
I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I hid so long, I hid it till I was like 5 months pregnant. So
Wow.
I remember my teacher asking me like, "Hey, is there anything? Is everything okay?" I'm
Oh
like, "Oh,
my goodness.
like what am I gonna do?" I was afraid. Like I was literally by myself in that. I didn't have the support from his father to help me face, what I needed to face. So
Yeah.
very it was hard because right away you start to think all the worst case scenarios, like I'm gonna get kicked out, I'm not gonna finish school,
Yeah.
those were my thoughts, like I'm not gonna be able to do anything but just work, so I was afraid, to let my parents know that was happening.
Okay. I mean, I can imagine the fear. a teen, you're a baby yourself, a child, and you're pregnant and you just don't know what to do. You're just fearful because, we don't want to disappoint our parents, and you're just like afraid.
Right. And
So,
that shame, I feel like for me,
mhm.
so long, like I carried that shame, like, man, I let them down. I wasn't,
Mm,
who they thought I was, or um so again, you carry the shame of it too, not just that teen, but now you got to walk around with it, right? And
yeah,
like, oh, well, you're just a baby yourself, or
yeah,
all the negative comments that you could possibly think of, you get.
yeah,
So that was hard. And even as an adult, sometimes when I say how old my son is, and they're like, like they give you that look, like, well, wait, how how old are you? And
yeah.
two together. But I don't think now I'm as ashamed to say it as I was then, because
Okay.
but again, you still kind of carry some of that guilt and that shame, like, man, I wasn't who my parents wanted me to be, right? Or
Yeah. And then,
I fell short.
yeah, I mean, you weren't ready. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
you weren't ready.
I
So
just was.
you said,
I
I
just was.
mean, yeah. So you said you hit it to you were 5 months pregnant. Wow. So how did your parents take the news, or how did they even find out?
Oh man, my mom. I would say my mom kind of took it the hardest.
Oh,
I mean, my dad did too, but I guess he didn't show emotions to me.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for them, but
yeah.
for me, just seeing that initial, like, of course, I had to tell them to get tested at some point, get some
Mm,
prenatal health care and things like that. Um,
okay.
but that was hard. That was hard for me to face them. It was hard for me to say, hey, like, this this is what's going on. I haven't gotten my period, like, and it's happening. So it was rough. It was really rough. Their reactions, and I could feel that silence, that uncomfortable. How you
Yeah,
walk in a room and everybody's looking at you.
yeah,
It was like,
yeah.
I don't know. It felt so tense. The conversations, they just weren't happening for a while, and it, again, it was a shock for us all, including myself.
Mm, okay. So after them finding out, were they supportive? You know?
I would say yes. Like, both
Okay.
my mom and dad were very supportive. Were they happy with what happened? Absolutely not. Because I think,
Okay.
what parent would be, right, at that point. Um,
Yeah, I got it.
but
Yeah.
they were very supportive. They didn't do everything that I thought in my mind that they were going to. But, they didn't kick me out. They allowed me to stay and help me raise my son. They watched my son for me so that I can finish school and work, and kind of work my way up in life. So because of their support, I am able to do what I do.
Okay. Anytime. So, obviously you got pregnant. Your son's father, did he know you were pregnant? Was he involved at any point during the
He
pregnancy
did
prior
know.
to that?
And he did know I was pregnant. He wasn't involved for own personal reasons.
Okay.
But he was never a part of his life. He knows, my son knows of him. His father knows of him. They don't they don't have a relationship, but again, that's something that's in prayer.
Oh
But
yeah, definitely.
but no, so that burden was totally left to me and my to bear. Of course, his mom was very supportive. That I can't say that she wasn't. She was always helping me out with my, which I'm totally grateful for.
Okay. Okay. Um, so you have your second son. Um, how the I mean, obviously you got pregnant. After raising your first child, being a single mom of one, and then having another child. Um, I know that you said you were married. You
Mhm.
know, how did that come? How did you meet your husband? How did that relationship
I,
start?
I met my husband when I was in 11th grade in high school.
Okay.
We both worked together. And that's how our story kind of started. We started
Okay.
talking, and then we got together. I didn't have my second son till I was about 21,
Okay.
but he raised my oldest. My oldest was only 2 years old when we got together. Um, so he helped raise him.
Oh, that was amazing. He stepped up.
Yeah,
Wow.
he was definitely a big part of my oldest son's life. Yeah.
Okay. So, you got married. You had your second son. So how did so what happened prior to your husband passing? How did
So my husband, in 2014, he was diagnosed with, I don't know the medical terminology. He had throat cancer. He was diagnosed on 2014. He did his chemo, he did his radiation. He only lasted about 6 months, so he passed in December of 20.
oh, okay. How did that make you feel when you found out that he had the cancer?
It was unexpected.
Okay.
Of course, we I don't think anybody prepares for any type of illness,
Yeah.
especially of that. When they say the C word, it's like, all right, automatically you think, you try to have faith. I say at that point, like, you try to have faith, but at the end of the day, you're kind of realistic, because the doctors kind of,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying God's not a miracle worker, that, but his case, we did pray. Um, he chose to go through the treatment like that. I was supportive of whatever he chose to do at that time. It was a very hard time for our family. We had to kind of leave everything, and move in with my mom and my dad, and we had nothing. It was just the two of us, with our boys at my mom's, and they were, again, always supportive and always helping us out with the boys, while I kind of helped him with his process.
Oh, okay. So towards the end, where he for his passing, did you have like any resentment towards God when you lost your husband?
I wouldn't say I wasn't resentful. I was more like, I think you ever get to a point in your life and you're like, wow, 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 God, like, what else could possibly happen to me, right? Because
Yeah.
you go through so much in life, and you have somebody that's by your side supporting you, and then you kind of have to learn how to live, right? How to live life without that person by your side,
Yeah.
doing everything on your own. Again, a single mom, not only of one,
Yeah.
two. And not that you want, who wants to ever be a single mom? No one. I don't think anybody plans to be a single mom.
Yeah.
It just kind of happens. I wouldn't say that I resented God, but it was a really hard time for me, because it's almost like, you can't really grieve. You can and you can't, because now you got two little
Yeah.
up to you, and then they kind of watch your every move, right? So is
Yeah.
mom okay? Is mom, what's mom doing? You know,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to put that stress on my kids. I didn't want my kids to not have a present mom, but it was so hard for me to be present, because I was going through so much internally. So even though outside I looked like, everything was great, Joelle's positive and Joelle's always, but inside I was just like, I was really going through it. I was really going through the grieving. And again, no, people would see me, oh, well, she's fine, everything looks good. It's like, but they didn't know what I was doing when I would
Yeah.
get when I would get in my secret place, when I would get in
Wow.
And again, those and I still and there are days that are easier than others, and then the holidays come, or
Yeah.
those are the harder days, birthdays or the day that he passed. Like those are always a sad day for us. As much as we try not to be, we try to celebrate his life, and I try to remind the kids of who he was, and the things that he did, the things that he loved. But it's not always easy to smile when you really want
Yeah.
to cry, and again, nobody really sees that, because that's not what you put out. You try to, or for me at least, I try to be positive, and I try to show my kids um, that life does go on. That even though we miss him, we love him, and we wish he was here, but I can't show them that I'm gonna grieve or be sad my whole life, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, life does go on. Is it the same? Absolutely not. There's absolutely a void in our lives. Um, but being resentment, having resentment towards God, that was never a thought for me.
Mm, okay. I mean, losing someone is, not the easiest thing for anyone. It's a process,
Right.
and some people, like, I think they sometimes expect you to be like, okay, well, they're gone and they've been gone this long, you should be over it. It
Right.
doesn't happen that way. It doesn't. When you It could take 20 years, and you miss that person because they were in your life, they were present, you were with them every day physically, and
Mm.
all of a sudden it's just like they're gone. And you know and I've heard that, like, just people say, I feel like, inside I'm dying, and like you had said that, you were just going through so much inside, and you didn't have a chance to grieve because you were raising two kids, and then it was hard. But as you see, like, you said, life goes on, but it doesn't generally just go on, but you're still keeping the memory alive.
Right. I mean, and I hear that a lot. Like I've I've had friends who have mourned, right, their loved ones that they have lost, or whatever the case may be. It might not be the same type of loss, but it's still a
Yeah,
loss, and you still grieve.
exactly.
And some people grieve differently. Like I could be one that I'm silent, and
Yeah,
grieve at home, and then you have other people that are very emotional, but
yeah,
what you grieve different things, right? You can grieve a loss, but you could also grieve the person that you used to be. You
yep,
could grieve,
yep,
when you're moving up or going to a different level. Like, you start to grieve who you were, that process. You know, there's many ways for people to grieve. I think for me, it was I journaled, and I still journal. That has helped with my process of healing.
okay,
But I think a lot of people, there's no time frame. Oh, he this year it'll be 8 years since he passed. And I
okay.
still, like it was yesterday. My boys, now seeing them
Wow.
struggle, or seeing them grieving, and I'm not saying that I don't grieve him, but they grieve him different than I would, because that was different.
Exactly. Yeah.
So just learning to understand that, you know, as a mom, the what you want the most is to take that pain for them not to be able to live this life, right?
Yeah.
Both of them grieve so different. It has been a challenge for me, because again, as a mom, what do we want to do? We want to nurture, we want to hold them, we want to be there for them, but they grieve different. One is very isolated, where the other one is more verbal. Um, and the isolated one, I worry a lot more, because, again, he's internalizing everything. He's kind of like me,
Yeah.
like to show our emotion. Um,
Yeah.
and that's hard because, oh, let me check up on him and make sure he's okay because I haven't heard from him. So it's been a challenge. I'll say it's something that I still am learning how to go through that grieving process.
Okay. I mean, and I agree. I mean, grieving, everyone grieves differently, and it's a process. It could take a long time, and I like that you put that out there. How you said, you gave an example, on how you would journal,
Mhm.
you would journal, and that helped you, that helped you grieve,
Yeah.
and I like how you put that, can you give any examples, to help, someone that has just lost someone, that is grieving and had lost someone just recent or even years ago?
I would
What
say
what else can you give them?
I would say for me the or what really has helped me get through these years, first my faith, right? My belief in God, having that church family, that church home, that's crucial for anybody that has suffered a loss. Um, because not only because, oh, I need you to believe in God. Like, yes, I believe in God, and everybody has their own beliefs and their thoughts on that. But for me, it was having that support, having those sisters that would come and check in on me, that would know when I was being quiet, that knew me, like, hey, I haven't heard from Joelle in a while. Let me check in, pray. Because if you don't have that, it's like, you can easily get into that depression. You could easily get into that isolation. You can easily
Yeah.
fall into a pit, and then it's hard to get out of when you don't have anybody by your side. So I would say for me, what has helped me process it has been, of course, my family and my kids, but my church family, my sisters, that were there praying and checking in on me, bringing meals, whatever it was that I needed, I had it, and that was important for me to have that during that grieving, because if not, it's easy to fall into the drinking, the partying, because I was there. When my husband passed, I didn't know how to process it. So yeah, I turned to that as well. And that didn't do nothing. That only numbed it for a second. And then the next day I felt even more horrible. So I went through quite a few different processes through my grieving, because I didn't know how to deal with it, how to handle it. So then I turned to journaling. Every morning I would, or at night, I would write in my journal how I was feeling. I would thank God for the day, and for everything that I went through that day, the good, the bad, the ugly. And that kind of helps me also now, because I look back on those journals and I'm like, man, I was there. Thank God I'm not there anymore.
Amen.
I'm in such a better place now. So not only do they help in that moment, but they also help you years down the road, where you're looking back and,
Yeah.
man, I was really going through it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So I would say those have been the things that have kept me, having your church family, having your sister, people that you trust, people that you can go to and you don't feel like a burden, and you don't feel like you're stressing them or overwhelming them, that they welcome you with open arms, and they're just there, even if it's for you to cry on their shoulder. Because right away, when somebody passes away, you get inundated with, sorry for your loss, um,
Yeah.
cards, flowers, and I'll say, like, within a week after that, it all dies. You don't hear from any of those people. You don't see
Yep.
any of those people again. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm saying that for somebody that has gone through a loss, they, not that they don't want it, it's appreciated, but what's more appreciated is the action, is the calling to check up on me, make sure I'm
Yeah.
okay, or bringing me a meal without me even asking, or, oh, let me know if you need anything. I'm here. It's like, that person's not going to tell you what they need. That person's not going to tell you what they want.
Exactly. No,
It's
they're
to
not.
you to do. I'm going to go and take a meal, even if they didn't want it. I'm not even going to ask, what do they need? I'm just going to take it, because that's what they need when they're going through that loss, is people to show up, people to be
Be
there.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Not just,
I like,
I'm
go
so
ahead. I'm sorry.
but yeah, I'm sorry. I cut you off.
No, it's okay. um, and I love how you put it, it's just having the support, journaling, and just having people there to that you can lean on and talk to, because like you said, you get numb, you stuff everything up, and that is not good for anyone mentally, emotionally at all, or spiritually, to be like that. So hopefully someone can take heed to that this evening, and and just listen to that, because that is very important, because we can get lost in our own thoughts and our own grief, and
Yeah.
we can do things that we don't want to do. And yeah, so
What I want to add to that too is everybody's different.
yeah.
So now this is for like the church, right?
Yeah.
Church, don't just assume or say, I'm gonna pray for you, or let me pray for you. Not saying that that's not okay, but sometimes what that person needs is just a shoulder to cry on. It's just somebody to hug them.
Mm.
God's there. God's gonna be by your side, no matter what. Not just say, "Oh, I'll pray for you," and in that moment not do anything, and in that moment
Yeah.
kind of
Mhm.
like brush it off. Not that they do it intentionally, because they don't, but just to be present, just to be there for those that are really going through something, not just turn the eye.
Yeah, I can imagine how hard it is, but you seem like you're in a different place now, and your kids are older now, and the most amazing thing that I can say is that you still keep husband's you know memory alive for yourself and for your children, and that's very important, because sometimes people just forget, and I've seen that,
Yeah.
and and that is great that you do that, to just to remind your kids, like this is your father. um what was the hardest thing, being a single mom and raising two boys alone? What was the hardest thing that you had to struggle with?
The hardest thing I had to struggle with, oh man, I mean, my youngest son, he really went through he went through a lot in his life. But when he lost his dad, he was like triple times what he was
Okay.
for, as far as like behavior. So like we went through a few years where it was really hard. It was really hard
Mhm.
to control him, because he was so,
Okay.
he would, hit me. He would, what, you name it, whatever it was, I was going through it
Okay.
with him, and it was so hard. It was so hard in those moments. I can say I cried so much, and I prayed more than ever, just for those those behaviors to stop. And now that he's a little older, I'm like, thank God.
I can imagine.
Because it was so hard, but yeah, I would feel so embarrassed. I would so like, don't even look at me, like, they're probably thinking this woman doesn't know how to control her kid. And it's not that I didn't, it's just, he was going through a lot internally, and the only way that he could voice it was by being verbal, acting out.
Mm. and and that's understandable. I mean, children grieve, like you said, they grieve differently,
Right.
and then like they don't know how to express themselves. And now that he's older, at least it's calmed down, and he was young, he didn't understand,
Right.
And
And now he comes to me. He's like, "Mom, but this is how I feel." And I'm like, "Okay,
aw,
got it." Because I'm very quiet and I like my space. So I'm learning how to him where he's at and not and not shut down. I want him to be verbal. I want him to tell me how he's feeling. So again, it's different for me to internalize things, whereas it's more vocal. So
okay,
so I'm learning how to embrace him where he's at.
okay, that's great. That's so great. So, if you were to go to turn back time, being a single parent, would you choose to be a single mother? Why or why not? Just that's my question for you.
I don't think I don't think anybody chooses to be a single parent. Like I said, I feel like that's something that just happens, right?
Okay.
That
Yeah.
never to be a single mom. Of course, my thought process was, I'm gonna be married, and that's it. That was my thought process growing up. So at least that's what I saw. Um, so when
Okay.
it happened, when the being a single mom happened, like some days I'm like, man, like this really sucks. Um, but then there are days where I'm like, okay, this isn't too bad. But when you're raising boys, it's even harder for a mom because again, you're a guy, so there's certain things your kids go through that
Yeah.
you can't relate.
Yeah,
You
I have a son, so I could totally, I remember
right,
their
and you
teenage years. I could be the hardest to
yeah.
deal
So
with.
my old it was rough because he was going through his teenage state when his dad passed. So it
Okay.
again it's harder when you're a single mom, not only but of boys, and then they're going
Yeah.
own their own things and you can't really relate. But I don't think I would choose to be single. I don't think any child should be raised without having the mom and the dad. I mean, of course, if and when it's healthy, right, for the child, because
Yeah.
we want the child to be in a safe place, in a safe home. But it's so hard for women to raise kids on their own. Like that's just not. I mean, that's not how it was designed. But you know, things happen, right, and things
Yeah.
happen that are out of our control. But if I had a choice, no, I wouldn't choose to be single because it's not an easy thing to do, to juggle life, work, home, your kids, sports. I mean, boys, they're very involved when it comes to sports. So
Yes, they are. They sure are.
unfortunate for them, I'm not a sports person. So I don't like football. I don't like none of that. But as a mom, I gotta support my kids. So
That's very true. I'm not a sport person, but it's true what you're saying. Even it's being a mom, especially a single mom. It wasn't always easy. And you have to sit there and just like support them, and you're like, I don't know how to play that. But
like,
like, let's go play this game or something. I'm just like, I don't know how to do that,
then
but I'll support you. I'll sit there with you.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I practice. you know. So, but again, I don't think it's something that I would choose, or that I would want to do if that was a choice. I just think
Okay.
that how life happened.
Yeah. So, with the passing of your husband and the grieving, have you ever thought about, do you ever think about getting remarried?
Is it a thought? Yes. I guess in God's timing, right? I still
Okay.
feel as though I need to, there's some things that I need to work in me. Um,
Okay.
and with my, with my kids before I can say, all right, now's the time for me to, you know, have that significant other in my life. Um, so if it's in, again, if it's in God's plans, then it'll happen, and if it's not, then this is where I'll be.
I love that. How you pinpoint that you know that you have to work on yourself
Yeah.
before that you have to before you have that before you give that open space and to invite someone into your space. I love how you clarify that because many people want to get married or have the thought of that, and that's what they desire. But as we're waiting for a husband, for the one that God wants to give us, but we have to work on ourselves, and I think that's very important, that we have to work internally, and even in every areas in our life, before we feel ready. So I like how you pinpointed
It's
that.
so hard. I'm not saying that I'm not open to it. It's
Mhm.
just for me, it's been a little difficult because I know that there's still some things that I need to heal. I know that there's some things um that I need to work out prior to having that person come into my life.
Yes,
You
I
know,
can agree.
you want to act hard. You don't want, or you want to be supportive. You want to be there
Yeah.
for them. And it's hard for me to do that now because of where I am in my life, right? With my career, with my son. Um, is it something that I would love? Absolutely. But I have to also be honest with myself and say, at this point in my life, I don't think that I'm ready. I don't believe I'm ready for it yet.
I like that. I like that. I like that because that is something that too many don't think about, and I love how you was just so transparent about admitting that you still need to work on you in certain areas of your life, and certain places that you have to heal within yourself before you're able to okay, well, I want to get married, but I just can't right now. So
And I say that because so I did at one point date. I did have a boyfriend. Um,
okay.
and it just, to me, it didn't work out because there were still so many things I was dealing with. And again, like
Okay.
I still am now. So having gone through that made it, made the process a little bit even harder because now it's like, oh, all right, well, now I hurt him, now I hurt myself, now I'm back at square one, so
Yeah, I totally understand that. Like, it could be rough. It's the dating scene right now it's not so easy to date nowadays either. So I could totally understand.
I could tell you stories for days, but I'll leave that for another.
So, Charlie, have you ever thought of being a recovery mentor at any
Being a mentor,
a recovery mentor?
a recovering mentor. I haven't, no. I have heard people tell me that I'm a good coach. um,
Well, there you go.
not again, it's not something that I'm like trying to be at this point. I think for me, that's just who I am. I just love to inspire and empower women or men. It doesn't matter. Anybody that needs prayer, they can always reach out to me, or if they need to speak to somebody, they can always message me. Like I make myself available in that sense.
Okay.
Again, I don't ever want anybody to feel like they don't have anybody, to go to. And again, even if it's just a stranger and it's somebody I don't know, um, saying a prayer for that person isn't gonna hurt me in any way, but it'll be a blessing to them.
Okay. So what are some things that you're most proud about yourself as you look back, at everything that you've been through, all the trials and tribulations up to this point in your life?
Oh, what I'm proud of. Sometimes it's so hard for you to talk about yourself, right? You talk about and you can give kudos to everybody, but when it comes to yourself, you're just so hard on yourself. I guess I'm proud at how courageous and bold I am when it comes to my faith and my belief in God and where I am in life. Whereas some people, if they would have gone through what I've gone through, they probably would have gave up,
Yeah.
um, not continued on with their faith. So I would say for me, I'm just proud that I'm still in my faith, that I still believe in God no matter what trials and tribulations I have been through in life, and to Him, is all the glory that I am here today, and that I have
Amen.
accomplished things that I have, that, and of course that I've been able to raise my boys, even if it has been just me and them. Um, so that's what I'm proud of.
That's amazing. I love how you stood on your foundation, and you know God is always near, even when we're resentful and even when we feel lost, but He's always there. And I can say that, grieving is hard and some people sway away, but you didn't. You hung on with all your might and your faith and continue on that walk in that formation with Him.
Struggle, like, I'm not gonna say I didn't struggle with depression,
Mhm.
because I locked myself up in my room and didn't want to leave.
Mm.
There were some really bad days. But even in the midst of that, I knew God was by my side. I knew that God was gonna get me. So and seasons to, because
Yeah.
he's been with me through it all since then till now, and continues to be. No matter what I go through, good or bad, I'll still believe in him and know that he'll make, because he's always made a way.
Oh, definitely. Amen to that. So, is there any more advice that you could give to someone struggling with grief or someone that's just lost a spouse?
Someone who's lost a spouse, or that's grieving, um, I would say for anybody that has lost a spouse, because like I know it's hard to go from that transition to spouse, right? To being single, to being by yourself, and feeling like you need that other person to be there by your side. I would say feel your feelings, grieve, take your time to heal, before getting involved with anybody, because it'll just make things worse, or it just won't feel right. You'll start to not feel so good about yourself.
Okay.
I would just say, grieve, feel it, feel your feelings. Don't try to, drink it away, party it away. That's not going to help you in that process. um, and just for somebody that's grieving, just in general, anything in life, I would say get connected to a church, or anybody that's a Christian, that that coworker, that annoying coworker that keeps or um just get connected, get connected somewhere, so that you're not by yourself, so you don't feel alone, and you're not going through that grief by yourself. Get somebody
Yeah.
that you trust. Get somebody that you could call when you're not feeling so good, because it's very easy to fall into a pit. It's very easy to fall into depression when you don't have anybody by your side, when you're like, oh, okay, I'm okay, I'm fine, I don't need you. Because I was there. And people that are you okay? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm fine. Yeah, I was.
Mhm.
And again, I that's our coping. That's a coping mechanism. for people to say I'm okay, but they're really not okay. Um, and they put
Yeah.
on that face, that strong, like I'm fine. Then, they go home and they're a hot mess. They don't have anybody to turn to, or they feel like they don't have anybody they can trust. But I would say find your circle, find your people that you can trust, and that will help you get through that process. And get a journal, write it down. If you don't trust anybody, then it's you and God. You write down I write down what I don't feel comfortable sharing with anybody else.
Okay. Okay. I
So
like that. I like that. That's definitely, sometimes that's what we need to hear because, like I've lost many people in my life, and I love exactly what you said because that can definitely what you just said can really help someone because, like you said, everyone grieves differently, and to be able to speak and not keep everything stuffed, that's not a good thing for anyone. But again, I applaud you, Joely. As long as I've known you and everything, I I applaud you for that. For just being strong and being a great, inspiring and empowering single mother that you are, and being able to still just walk through your grief and still be able to empower and inspire women as well. So speaking about that, can you speak on your Facebook groups and on why on that you created and why?
so the first one I created was the living testimony, and I created that one around COVID, or when COVID happened, just to kind of inspire people to still have hope, and just to hear, it's always good to hear somebody else's testimony because you really don't know what people go through, right?
Yeah,
We're so good at masking what we go through in life, and the thing,
yeah,
nobody knows, right? It's like top secret. But when you
yep,
hear somebody share their testimony, and you're like, wow, I went through that, or man, my life isn't that bad. You start
hmm,
to have hope and have faith. So that was why I created that page, and on there, it's not just for women, it's for men as well. I share devotionals, daily devotionals. I ask people to share their testimonies. A lot of them haven't reached out because not everybody likes to be on camera. And
yeah, they're shy.
I'm hoping that this will open the door for them to send me some videos to post
Well,
on
I'm always open to going on there because
there.
our testimonies I think are powerful and
So you
a lot of
that sets you free. That
yes, agree, definitely agree with that because too many people feel like, oh, no one understands me, or no one's walking in my shoes, or or just or that comment where if the shoe fits, wear it, or it's not relatable. There's certain situations that may not be fully relatable, but it's a familiar situation,
right,
and I think our stories are powerful, and especially for those that are or that are within the church, our stories are what gives God the glory. And even if those that don't what are not in the church, your story is still purposeful.
right,
Your story is gonna help someone else. You may think that it's not important, or you think, oh well, I've been through that, whatever, whatever. Someone is going to understand you. Someone out there is going to have the familiar and relatable situation, is going to understand you. It might not be on the as the same exact thing, but they're going to understand what you
mhm,
have gone and how you felt and what you've been through. And I just wanted to put that out there because too many people don't understand that, because all you hear is like, oh, nobody will ever understand me.
right.
But one thing that I know, the one person that will definitely understand you and sees you is God, and He will meet you in those places and even through your struggles.
It's true.
And I just wanted to put that out there.
So that was one. The other one is it's called Women on the Battlefield. I created that, I say about 2 years ago. Um,
Yeah.
be- my soul sister, uh, she gave me the idea, or she gave me the name. Uh, God gave it to her. And I
Nice.
started that group about a year ago. And, we were meeting every other Tuesday. We were kind of on a break this year. Hopefully, we'll be able to start it back up again sometime next year. But that page, I post devotionals as well. Any woman is welcome if and when we start having our groups. We find a for us to meet. But again, it's a group of us women just sharing, fellowshipping, talk about the Word of God. We share our testimonies. If one is going through something, we're all going through something. We're there to help. We try to give back to the community as well, doing different things, volunteering. I mean, if you know me, I love to serve. So anywhere that I can serve and give back, and that's where you will find me. Also part of a board. It's called Bring the Change. They also do some things in the community. So I'm very involved. I love to give back to my community, especially the city of Reading is dear to my heart because that's where I was born. That's where I was raised, and I just want to see women succeed and be and do well in life, and to show others that Reading isn't as bad as they say it is, and
Hmm.
I always say be the change that you want to.
Yeah.
So if it starts with me, then it'll start with.
It always starts with one person, and then the other person sees someone doing it, and it just keeps going and going.
And again,
And
glory of God. It's all to bring Him glory.
yes, yes, definitely. Um, everyone, you can find her Facebook groups on Facebook. It's Women on the Battlefield and Living Testimony. Check her out. She's there. If you want to hear some affirmations, any positive quotes or anything, that is definitely the page to want to join. Again, Living Testimony and Women of the Battlefield. And thank you so much, Joelle, for coming on and speaking on your story. And as long as I've known you myself, I mean, obviously, life happens, and we weren't always around each other. But now I see, and you have inspired me in a lot of ways. As long as I've known you, and I hope someone can just, I hope anyone and any of our followers that are listening this evening that if you know someone that is grieving or have lost this or lost a loved one, spouse, you know, uh, you know, they want to listen in to this evening's story, or you can always reach out to Joelle. You can find her on Facebook, you can find her on Instagram, and she's willing and open to, to speak, and always open to, to someone. And
Definitely, anytime.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm around.
So we have one question we ask all our guest speakers. What makes you uncommon?
Ay, ay, ay. What would be uncommon? I would say my uh, fierce independency, right?
Okay.
My uniqueness. I guess I'm different, not like everybody else. I'm a one of a kind, so I guess that makes me uncommon.
There you go. That's you. That what makes you uncommon. I like that, So let me check if we have any comments from the audience. Burke staff said, "Yes, you are, and I love it. P.S. This is Ali. Ali.
Aaliyah.
Aliyah." And then
Oh. Barb.
Barbie Lopez. She says,
Hi,
"Hey, beautiful. Hi."
a little bit of the question. Do you have
Says,
available on any other platform than Facebook? I don't. Right now, I'm just on Facebook, but I will be working on Instagram. I'm not too computer savvy when it comes to TikTok and all that other stuff. I'll have ways to help me with that.
it's a learning process. It's a
So
learning process.
on Facebook, but I'm looking to expand to Instagram. I have to go slowly.
Okay, and then there is another comment.
Who knows? Maybe a podcast someday.
Oh, interesting. There is Amanda R. Wilson.
Hi, Amanda.
And then we have Zolia.
Hi, Zoila.
Zola.
I just want to thank you, Jenny, for having me on. Also, for everyone that tuned in. That just means the world to me for your support. My girls always support me, and I just love them so much. So I just want to give you, you girls, love you. Thank you.
And got a couple comments here. Says using work staff says using work Facebook to watch us because I don't have a personal
I
Facebook.
love you so much. That means a lot. See, she came on her work Facebook.
And she also said, "You rocked it, girl. You sure did." Beth Ann B. Martin, so good. God is good. Testimonies are important and give God glory. Thanks for sharing. Love you, girl.
Thank you for tuning in.
So, Anne, thank you so much again, Joelle, for coming on and speaking on your testimony and, just being brave because not everyone, is, you know, isn't always brave enough to speak about losing a loved one because, it's a hurtful thing and I can imagine, what you have been through and what you've gone through, just internally. And as you can see, you have amazing support, family, your kids, and me knowing you, I am so proud of you. And thank you for coming on and sharing your story again. And before I close out, I would like to speak on our apparel, our self-love apparel. Make sure you go check it out at www.uncommonwomen.net. Make sure you also check out our YouTube channel, Uncommon Women Podcast. Like and subscribe. And as well as come check me out September 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Instagram Live. I have an amazing young lady that she is going to come on and speak on her testimony on sickle cell awareness. And she's a vibrant young girl, and I personally know her. And make sure you tune in for that. Uncommon 3 Women on Instagram Live. And make sure if you or anyone wants to speak on any awareness or has a story to tell, you can also go into a website that I just had mentioned, www.uncommonwomen.net. Also, you can even contact us on uncommon3women@gmail.com. And once again, everyone, and thank you for this evening, once again, Joelle, and for our viewers. And as always, everyone, don't forget to stay uncommon. Bye.
Thank you.